From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
What's up, world? It's the one and only Pop DiBiase, the primetime capper. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. And it is time for the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles. And boy, oh boy, let's go ahead and jump into it very quickly. And that's going to be the Summer League, NBA Summer League. Who is the team to beat in the showcase of young talent? All right. And we always know when it comes down to Summer League that it's not just about the young rookies and all that good stuff. It's about some veterans as well, too. Guys that were in the NBA for a while that didn't really do that well or were top picks and just didn't do as well as they thought they were going to do and wind up having to go to Summer League to get themselves a spot in the league. So don't laugh at people when you see a 32-year-old in Summer League and he's over here trying to get his first shot at the NBA. It happens because you guys have to understand my story about that comes from this. If you are my age or a little bit younger, you know, if you were born in the 80s, maybe early 90s, things like that, and anything prior to the 80s, you understand that with the way things are set up and the dynamics of how we do any of our, our evaluations and things like that. They used to have a very fun Summer League in Long Beach. And the Long Beach Summer League pretty much is the father of the Vegas Summer League. And the funny thing about the program in Long Beach was that they had an NBA team. They didn't have every NBA team, but they had about 15 to 20 NBA teams, pretty much all the Western Conference, and a few of the teams from back east. And guys like Allen Iverson played in that league. Kobe Bryant played in that league. Also, Lamont Murray, just to name a few guys, but a lot of the legendary Hall of Fame guys played in the old LA Summer League, the old Summer League over at Long Beach State, which was played in the Pyramid. So a lot of memories with that because that's where we really we wouldn't even have tape. We wouldn't have anything of that. It was literally like, okay, if you were lucky enough to say have a certain network, because we didn't even have NBA TV back in the 90s, you could possibly watch it, you know what I mean? But most times you weren't watching the Summer League, you know what I mean? And they do have footage, they do have tapes of it, but that's just the craziest part about how far Summer League has went from being just something that you had to go witness with your own eyes to now being this big portion of the NBA season. And really, it's like the total end of the season. You know what I mean? I feel like, okay, the regular season's over and now let's go to summer school. That's exactly what this is. And pretty much who's at summer school? The underclassmen. So pretty much with this, I look at this scenario this year, and we have 5 teams that I feel like can be the teams that can be anything they want to be in this tournament as long as they stay focused. And this is a toughie because you'll have the favorite. The favorite can get knocked out in the first round. This what makes the Summer League somewhat a fun watch for all of us. So how I'm feeling is you have the OKC. They're pretty much 5-1 to win the championship right now. And if I would say it, they're pretty much really a 4-1, 7-2, somewhat. Yeah, 7-2 is really their number. And I like them, but they're not the number 1 team. I'll put them as number 5. I like the Pistons as well, too. at +7 at 7-1. I'm seeing it 720, but it's pretty much 7-1. That's a good little bet right there. And I'm very intrigued with the Houston Rockets. The Houston Rockets are almost 15-1 here. You know what I mean? They're plus 1440. Really, that would be, almost 15-1, but let's just say they're 14-1. I also will say, it's not because of Wemby. It's just simply because how good the Spurs have been in Summer League over the course of the Vegas Summer League. They probably got the most championships in Summer League history, but I'm going to take them with the plus 1080. I don't expect Wemby to play more than 2 games, to be honest with you. They're not going to overpress, overstress him. They'll come up with some foot injury or something wrong with them to where they can sit him out. And so that's what, 3 that I gave you? Here goes a surprise team for you. The Indiana Pacers. The Indiana Pacers made a lot of movement and they did a lot of things. And I feel like they can get this done as well, too. So we have them. And then the team that I'm looking at that can make a lot of noise and really come out of the woodworks and out the blue. And I know it sounds really crazy right now, but I will say this. I think that the Golden State Warriors are a team that you're going to have to look out for because Golden State's going to be packing a lot of their guys from the Santa Cruz team. The Santa Cruz team, a lot of those guys have had time up top playing for the actual Warriors. So, yeah, you could put them on there. So, my top 5 teams and the top 5 teams to bet, in my opinion, would be the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Detroit Pistons, the Houston Rockets, the San Antonio Spurs, and as I said, we'll go ahead and we'll finish it off with the Golden State Warriors. Now, if I had it my way, in reality, I really do like the Magic because the Magic got a lot of really good young players as well too. But I know that Banchero is not going to be playing. So, because Banchero is more focused on the Team USA situation right now because that's who he's going to be rocking with. But let's go ahead and jump into who I feel is going to be the best player in the Summer League at this point. And that's going to be this young man right here. Is it Amen? Is it Amen? What is it? I will say this. He's a twin, and he's the Thompson twin. And he's from where? Bay Area, Oakland, baby. And pretty much him and his brother Sur made history a few weeks back. They were 4th and 6th in the draft. And Amen went first. He went to Houston. And this is an absolutely incredible pickup for the Houston Rockets because they just add on to the youth movement that they already have. I truly do feel that with this team, though, you have a great player in Jabari. Jalen's a great player as well, too. You got Kevin Porter Jr., very good player. Sengun, very good player. All this good young budding talent that's going to be something incredible to really look at in the next few years as they mature into possibly one of the better teams in the NBA. But it's not going to be overnight, and it's probably going to take about a good 2 or 3 years before they arrive on that level. They've already added some pretty good veterans in Dylan Brooks and Fred VanVleet, so they possibly are thinking about an 8th seed situation, 7th seed situation. And I think that the X factor for this team, if everything works out well, if they don't use them in a developmental situation, I think having Amen Thompson is going to really be able to clean up a lot of things for the Rockets. The Rockets do have a lot of immaturity on their team. And it doesn't matter at the end of the day, all this great young talent is never going to play together for more than 2 or 3 years before they have to start really making moves to where they have to add in championship assets that will put them over the top. Yes, you want to keep it with this group, but there's just not enough orange here. So I truly do feel that Amen is going to be the guy that's going to take over the Houston Rockets and become the face of their franchise. And I think that he's going to have a coming out party. So with that, I do have him winning the most valuable player of the tournament, in my opinion, of the whole Summer League. And hopefully we can get this one home. It's going to be kind of tough. Let's keep it real. But I do like what I see. I think that we we have a good shot. I'm over here trying to get his MVP numbers now. They're not showing up for me as of yet, but yeah, I like Amen, and I think that him winning the MVP could be something serious. But if anybody stands out in this summer league to me, it's him. And I know his brother is going to probably stand out with a very good Detroit team, but it's something about Amen that is just very tantalizing. And watching his highlights, I just was very enamored with him. And honestly, I would have took the kid number 1 overall. But you had to go ahead and take the theater piece, which is Wemby. Then you had to take the controversy, which is Brandon Miller. And then you had to take the guy that you got questions about, Scoot. But I feel like Amen and the Sewer did not have any questions. It's just, where do you plug them at? And when do we start playing? It's that simple. These guys were never guys that were a pick me or look at me type situation. They've always just proven who they are with a great game, and much appreciated and great parenting by both their parents. All right, so we move forward and let's go ahead and jump into a different subject, and that's college football. And let's talk about it. Can Brian Kelly get the elusive national title he has been chasing over the last decade? Well, Brian Kelly has been nothing but a winner everywhere he's been at, okay? He went to Central Michigan. Central Michigan broke records in the MAC. He goes to Cincinnati next. Goes to Cincinnati. They break all types of records in the Big East because they weren't in the AAC yet. They were still in the good old Big East, going against teams like Rutgers, going against Pitt, going against still playing against Syracuse. No, Syracuse was already in the ACC. I'm sorry. But going against teams like Louisville, all that good stuff. Having some real wars with South Florida and all those teams. I know because one of my former players, and back in my old coaching days, one of my former basketball players, Armand Benz, was one of his first big stars that he had at a big school. And he actually came to Pasadena and recruited Armand to come play for Cincinnati. So there's, and pretty much he gave Armand a job right away, right when his NFL career abruptly ended, because he played for the Jags, he played for the Bengals, and he played for the Dolphins as well, too. But once his career was over, then he was able to go in and be an assistant right away with Coach Kelly. So Coach Kelly goes and breaks records over at Cincinnati. Cincinnati actually is able to appear in the Sugar Bowl. They got absolutely wrecked, but still, they appeared in the Sugar Bowl. That was a big deal for Cincinnati at that point because they don't get the games like that. And it was a team that actually, I think, only had lost maybe one game that season. They weren't undefeated, but they had only lost one game going into that situation. And he was able to use Cincinnati as his springboard to get to what everybody feels like is the ultimate job in all of college football, and that is coaching the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. You usually don't leave Notre Dame at all. You don't, unless they fire you. Brian Kelly didn't do anything but become the all-time winningest coach at the most illustrious football institution in college football. And I know everybody says, oh, man, but how about Alabama? No, Alabama, you're good, but this is the Fighting Irish. You know what I mean? They're a little different from everybody. They've made several movies about this team, and they made, several shows, and everything always used to go back to the Notre Dame aura. So pretty much they kind of weigh everybody out in a sense. And they got their own TV deal with NBC. Nobody else has their own TV deal. So Brian Kelly does an excellent job there. They get to the national championship. They get blown out by Alabama. They get to the Final Four, get blown out by Clemson. And I think they played Alabama again one more time, got blown out. But just all in all, he couldn't get the players that you get in the SEC to come play for him over at Notre Dame. But he was recruiting some of the top tier players in the nation. And the way that Brian Kelly was able to bounce back to get that job at LSU, because there was a point in time where things got a little went to a little bit to the left in his 10 years there at Notre Dame, and it got a little spotty there. But his job was never in jeopardy. So what does he do? He goes ahead and they had to pay him pretty much triple the amount he was making over at Notre Dame. And that's exactly what LSU did, because LSU was in a very dire point because they had Ed Orgeron as their head coach. And Orgeron took advantage of having one of the greatest college football teams that were ever recruited play together. Literally, you could have had somebody who sat on the couch all year coach these guys up, and they still would have probably won a national championship. But Ed Orgeron wore out his welcome pretty quickly there at LSU. It only took 2 years after the fact of them winning a national championship for LSU to give him his walking papers and bring in Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly's career did not start off well. They lost to Florida State, a team that had been struggling for some years to get back to the elite status that they truly were. And that win pretty much springboarded them back into national relevancy. Then they lost some games they shouldn't have lost during the season. But then everything came together at the right time. And then he got one of the biggest wins of his coaching career. He finally beat Alabama. And they beat Alabama in a way to where they ensured Alabama was not playing for a national championship last year. And they probably played the best football the last 6 weeks of the season out of anybody in the nation. But by that time, it was pretty much too late for them to make that push towards a championship. But when you really look at things in perspective, if they would have did it the old way, then possibly LSU could have snuck in if they would have had one less loss. And Brian Kelly knows how close he is. He's already set the tone there. LSU doesn't lose a lot of players to the transfer portal. And he's been able to recruit some of the top end players from the state of Louisiana, state of Mississippi, state of Texas, all those prime places where you find those Bayou Tigers at. And I feel like right now, this coach is on the brink of something that he has never had in his career. And that's an opportunity to actually win the national championship. Not just get to the game, but actually win the game. And I would say this, if you have your futures bets going and all that good stuff, you have to include LSU in that group. They're coming in with one of the better teams in the nation, one of the better teams in the toughest conference in the nation, the SEC. And so I truly do feel that Brian Kelly is at that point now to where he has plenty of time to win a national championship. But I know the expectations are within the first 3 years. Seriously. LSU knows that with Brian Kelly, they can be a consistent winner year in and year out. It's that simple. And they don't have to worry about playing second fiddle to Alabama, playing second fiddle to Georgia, playing second fiddle to Tennessee. They can be right there on the mountaintop with all these teams. So I do feel like we got some big things going here in the SEC. And you have to be really quick to say that it's not just going to be about the Bulldogs and the Crimson Tide. You're going to have to go ahead and make some room for the Tigers. So with that, let's go ahead and move on to our next topic, and let's jump into why the Chargers need to be considered a legit Super Bowl pick. Well, the reason why the Chargers need to be considered a legit Super Bowl pick is because the Chargers got it all. The Chargers got one of the better offensive lines in the league, and we were really in the And I knew that pretty much the Chargers are a team that everybody has the same idea about. The Chargers are really good at underachieving and being a team that will look like world beaters one week and you feel like we can go anywhere with this team. Then the next week, they'll lay an egg. Also, they're a team that will have a lead and blow that lead. But they're also a team that will be down in the game and come back and win that game. The Chargers have knocked out every scenario that you can knock out. And they've lost in every scenario that you can possibly have in the NFL as well, too. I would say that this is the most challenged team in the NFL at this point over the last decade or so, especially in these last few years, because the Chargers were really 50-50 from having a really bad season or having a really great season. But they found themselves just doing things in the middle. But last year, they broke through just a little bit and got themselves to the playoffs. And what happened is that they weren't able to have the run that you would expect it, because the Chargers went to the playoffs, one of the hotter teams in the NFL. But they went against another one of the hotter teams in the NFL in the Jacksonville Jaguars. They blew a 27-point lead. When you blow a 27-point lead, literally nobody should be picking you to win the Super Bowl the next year because you just don't know how to win. I say this, you got to go in the opposite direction with that. I think that the Rams got the biggest wake-up call anybody could ever. I'm not the Rams, but the Chargers got the biggest wake-up call anybody could get. And that was that you got to go out there and you got to finish the game. And you ain't got to worry about beating a team 55-0 and all that stuff. Carlos, what's going on? How you doing, brother? How's everything? Thank you for the love, man. Thank you so much. Much love to you for watching the show on a daily basis. Make sure that you're sharing it with all your friends and all that good stuff. Spread the word for us. And you guys already know what time it is, man. This is the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles. Thank you so much, Carlos. All right. So, yeah, the Chargers have a lot of different elements to them. And I feel like the Chargers have the quarterback that you need to win a Super Bowl. They got the situation in the backfield where you don't have the bell cow. You don't have the big-time running back, but you have a versatile running back. You know what I mean? And Eckler is a game changer. Let's just keep it real. He's a guy that can change games. It's that simple. But then what really sets them apart from everybody is the wide receiver position. When you have a guy like Johnson, the rookie, who is tough as nails, who comes from Texas. He's ready to do great things on the field. Always a plus. And he's coming from a program that played top-tier football all season last year. And he's still getting passes thrown to him by his old college quarterback, Dugan, who I wouldn't say is the backup yet, but he is on the roster third string. Okay. And then you got Keenan Allen, the perennial leader of the wide receiver room. And he's somebody who has been reliable when healthy. And he's one of the best receivers in the NFL when he's fully healthy and fully in tune on what's going on. And then you got Mike Williams, one of the bigger receivers in the league, who has hands like a grizzly bear. So, you know, this guy can catch the ball and he can do it at a high rate as well, too. He's able to jump up pretty high, get himself a nice grab, you know what I mean? And also he's a guy that has some of the best footwork you'll ever see on a wide receiver in the NFL as well, too. He has a real tendency to get guys lost very quickly. And that's something that's just absolutely incredible. And then he add in Josh Palmer as well, too, who's a hell of a receiver. And he doesn't get enough credit, but he was a guy that held it down big time for old Herbert. And then you also have Guyton. Hopefully he can be healthy this year, but he's a speedster. But they got some guys over there in training camp right now that could still one of those roster spots there and be a big time receiver, because if you make their roster, you know that Herbert is going to take advantage of getting you the ball, because now he got a new receiver. If you get open, he'll throw you the ball. That's how good Herbert is. Herbert makes other players great, and that's exactly what Phillip Rivers did for a long time in San Diego as well. I mean, yeah, in San Diego and LA as well too. Also, you have yourself a pretty good offensive line, and if they can stay healthy and keep Herbert upright 60, 70% of the year, they should not have any issues making the playoffs. But the key part to win the division, they got to get that they got to have that defense be in the top 15, and it can't be at 15. It has to be 10 or better. And I think that if they can wind up putting together a top 5 or top 10 defense, then they're really in good shape. And I say this because they got two of the best bookends in all of football when it comes down to Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack. And then you have Derwin James, who's a rover, who's literally a linebacker safety hybrid who can do everything. You move him around all across the field. He's what I like to call on defense the star position. That means that it doesn't matter if you're on the defensive line, you're a linebacker, you're a defensive back. You have free reign to line up and be wherever you need to be at, because you're that valuable to the defense, but you're even more valuable to the team. The biggest thing for me is their secondary. And I think that if their secondary can figure out a way to not get scorched to earth every game, then they're in good shape. But there was a lot of games where the Chargers went in there and they took care of their business. And they did a great job defensively. They just couldn't get anything on the offensive end. So the Chargers are in great shape this year. With everybody focused in on the Chiefs and everybody with this new sensation about the Denver Broncos, they're kind of throwing the Chargers to the back of the bus. And I think that's the stupidest thing that you can do right now. I feel like the Chargers are the team that does present the most value when it comes to the top teams in going to the Super Bowl. Because, yeah, Buffalo, yeah, you're going to want them. Yes, you're going to want your Dolphins, because Dolphin fans love their team. You're going to take the Chiefs because the Chiefs are just comfortable. We know that. So what happens when you want to take a dark horse like the Chargers? This is how you make your money. This is how people got fat and got rich off of the Saints. You have to be able to catch the teams that you feel like can go ahead and have a good start to the season. And I feel like the Chargers, when you look at their schedule, a good start is more than due, is more than possible for them to do. So with that, we're going to go ahead and take our first quick commercial break. And when I get back, we're going to go ahead and we're going to talk about some baseball. We're going to talk Dodgers. We're going to talk MLB Thursday Night. You guys stay tuned. This is the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Cappers.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners and I'll Have Another and Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
Tune into Big Wave Boxing every week with a brand new guest with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper, getting the best boxing stories, best boxing angles, and the truth when it all comes down to the sweet science. Tune in to Big Wave Boxing on the Prime Wave Media channel on YouTube.
All right, here we are. We are back with the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper. And man, we have ourselves a very, very good day in baseball. We got a lot of good stuff going on. I know I need to get rid of them headlines as well, too. I know I'm tripping. So pretty much let's go ahead and jump into it. Dodgers win last night, though, man. They went and got themselves a pretty good win. Dodgers wound up winning the game 6-4 last night. But everybody else won last night, too. So, it's not like the Dodgers got an opportunity to really, make some headway in the race, but they're only a game and a half behind the Diamondbacks at this point, and they increased their lead to 2 games over the Giants. So pretty good shape for the Dodgers, but you want the Dodgers to start getting themselves back into first place so they can be a comfortable situation for this team as they move forward. And this is something that I say to myself, and I say, pretty much we have a very good group here, but this group is going to have to get ready to get split apart because there's just not enough chemistry, in my opinion. I feel like I can feel like that we can get them to get to where they need to if you put in the right type of players. And the right type of players aren't on this team right now. I think that the Dodgers have a good idea on who they want to trade for because July is a very important month. It's an evaluation month in a sense. Guys that play for the Rockies, guys that play for the Royals, guys that play for the Nationals, guys that play for the Tigers, guys that play for the who else is really bad right now? Cardinals sound like they're not giving up anything right now. But you have to start looking at rosters a little bit more. I wish if the Cardinals were actually, putting people on the block that Ariando, if he was to go onto the block, the Dodgers should make a clean effort to go get him, in my opinion. But they're not going to put a guy like that on the block. I truly feel that this could be a possible opportunity for the Dodgers to make a phone call to Anaheim and see what the Angels would want for Ohtani. Just so they don't get left out when it's time for Ohtani to sign with the next team. Because with Trout going out the way Trout just went out, there's no doubt that the Angels are probably going to miss the playoffs again. Okay? So you try to look at this situation, you say, what do you want for Ohtani? But you just can't throw him Ohtani. You got to take on other risk as well, too. You might have to take on Rendon as well, too. You never know. Because you will be giving the Angels a lot, but they can give you back 2 of those key players because this takes so much off their cap space as well, too. I mean, off their books as well, too. So that's something to look at, but I know that's a 1,000-to-1 long shot. Because why would you give up your best player to your rival? Nobody's the owner of the Red Sox back in 1912 when he gave up Babe, way smarter than that, right? So what do we do tonight? The Dodgers need to get into this game tonight, and they need to understand that winning this series is very key to their confidence moving forward. It's just a lot of really bad mojo right now. The Dodgers don't want to lose another series. That was embarrassing, losing the series to the Kansas City Royals, okay? That was very embarrassing. And they want to make up for that. They definitely want to make up for that. So they find themselves in the situation where they will be more efficient, and I feel like tonight they can be more efficient if they go ahead and play this game accordingly. It's going to be a tough one because they are going against a Pirates team that still thinks they can win their division. They don't think they know they could possibly win their division. All they need is another big month again, but I don't think they're going to have another 20-7 month though, to be honest with you. So it's crazy that after the Pirates played the Rays, everything fell apart. And the Rays and them were the best two teams in the league. Everybody was surprised. But tonight, I feel like the Pirates keep this one close. The Dodgers might run into a little bit of trouble tonight. I do like the Pirates at the +1.5 in this spot because Julio Urias probably needs one more start before we can get back the Julio we know and love. So with that, that's where I'm going with that. But the Dodgers win last night and find themselves still in comfortable position, but they're still behind the Marlins in the wild card for the top wild card spot, and they're still behind the Diamondbacks for the lead in the NL West. So with that, let's go ahead and move forward and let's jump into our MLB Thursday night. We got ourselves from what I saw 9 games tonight, and a few of them I already have them circled up for my clients tonight. So we got 6 that we got on Talkin Tickets for you guys tonight for the PrimeTime PK6. So let's go ahead and talk about it, man. We got some big things going on, but when we look at the standings today, you have everybody's in comfortable leads at this point, somewhat. You know, you got Houston, who's 2 games back of the Rangers now. You have Cleveland, who's 2 games back of Minnesota, and then you have Baltimore, who's 5 games back of the Rays, who no longer have the best record in baseball. That now belongs to the Atlanta Braves, who are now 58-28. So pretty much the Braves caught all the way up with the team that's been the best team in baseball since probably the first 2 weeks in baseball. They started off the season 13-0. Now everything's starting to kind of fall into place the way that it's supposed to fall into place for this team. Now, the Braves find themselves up 8 games. They have the biggest lead out of anybody in these divisions, and they're up against the team with the second best record in all of baseball, the Miami Marlins, who've won their last 7 out of 10. But wait up, you got the Philadelphia 76ers, not 76ers, but the Philadelphia Phillies winning their last 21 out of 27 games. So they've been playing at absolute spectacular baseball. And then you have the Reds and the Brewers, who are playing musical chairs somewhat, but you have a Brewers team that's now 2 games back. They've struggled a little bit in their recent series that they had with the Cubs, losing the last 2, but they know they got to win this game today, and they can get a little bit closer. This is the thing about this series right now. They got 9 games this month, okay? They're going to play each other 6 times next week, okay? They're going to alternate home and away, and then they're going to play 2 more series, and then they see each other again at the end of the month. So literally, I think what happens here is those 9 games are probably going to decide who's going to win the division, to be honest with you. All right, so pretty much, and that's in July. That's crazy. That's in July. But that's how their seasons are going to keep going. They're going to be up, they're going to be down. They're going to be up, they're going to be down. That's how it always goes. All right, so, and I already explained the Dodgers situation. So, you know, and the Dodgers find themselves a half a game ahead of the Giants, who are 3 games back now, and the Giants have lost their last 7 out of 10. We talked about that the other day, though. That the Giants are struggling. And San Diego is still loafing. They're 9 games behind the Diamondbacks, and they find themselves 7.5 games behind the Dodgers. And it was funny because people was really arguing with me about the Padres whooping the Dodgers this year. Like, arguing tough. Like, I told them that, look, they're not going to be as good as you think that they are because the chemistry is not going to be there. The moment Tatis walks in the locker room, it's over. It hasn't really went like that yet, but as the losing continues, yeah, it's probably going to go like that. But they coming fresh off of a sweep as well, too. So we'll see how it goes with the Padres. But right now, they are a struggle fest. Okay, so let's talk about it. Phillies, Rays. We just talked about it. Phillies, 46-39. As I said before, this team has won their last 21 out of 27. So that is absolutely insane because this team was struggling and they were struggling bad. Now they're back in the mix. They're right there chasing a playoff spot. Giants, watch your back. You know what I mean? That's how it's looking right now because that's the only way they get into the playoffs too. Because the Giants are holding court and the Dodgers are holding court right now. So, the Phillies are up against it. They're chasing 3 teams right now. And you know that they're probably not going to catch the Braves because they're way behind the Braves at this point. So I'm looking at this and I say to myself that tonight's game is one that is a very much needed win for the Phillies. But the Rays, I don't think they've been swept all season. So I don't know if they're going to be getting swept today. That's the whole thing. And I think what happens here is that they got one of their okay pitchers on the mound today. But the Phillies got one of their kind of spot starters on the mound in a sense. You know what I mean? Because Sanchez is good, but you can hit Sanchez pretty hard as well too. And so pretty much he hasn't been giving up a lot of runs, but he does give up a lot of hits. And he's been able to strike out 20 guys. So that means that he's getting at least 4 strikeouts a game he's getting 5 strikeouts a game in these last 5 he's pitched in. So pretty much we have a guy that is looking to keep the good times rolling. And then you have a guy, Sean Armstrong, who's not going to play that much today. He's going to only pitch maybe 2 innings at best. So you have to be ready for him just to get outs and get on. So they're going bullpen today. And usually the Rays are pretty good when they go bullpen. So today I'm trusting the Rays hitters to come up big and not get swept at home. So I'm going to go ahead and take the -1.5 on the Rays, plus 140. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it shakes out. We move forward from there. And when you look at these 2 teams coming into the game for this month, as I said, Philly has won their first 3 out of 4 here in July. And then you have the Rays who have sat up here and lost their first 4. And this is the first time that they've probably lost 4 games in a row in a while. And this season to that fact. So let's go ahead and move forward. Let's talk about it. Let's go ahead and talk about this AL West rivalry, and that's going to be the Mariners and the Astros. And the Mariners and Astros, you felt like they were going to be neck to neck all year long, chasing the West. And, I thought I was going to be able to cash out my fat old $550 on the Mariners, but the Mariners have just been an absolute ish show, in my opinion. You know what I mean? I don't want to cuss. So, they're coming in as a favorite tonight, -135, but no pitchers have been announced. Over under 8 tonight as well too. You got a spread that's 1.5 to the Mariners. So you have yourself a very good game in this spot. These teams haven't played each other in a while either. So I really truly feel that the Mariners know what time it is. The Mariners got to step on the good foot. They won 4 in a row to start off July. And they lost last night 2-0. So they're trying to get into their best baseball of the season. Okay. They finished June losing 3 in a row. And then starting off the way that they did to start this month, you got good wins over Tampa Bay. Then you went ahead and got 2 good wins over a hot San Francisco team and cooled them off. So, now you got Houston over the weekend. You got 4 set up with them. Then you have a pretty good then you get a week off, and then you get Detroit, Minnesota, Toronto, Minnesota, Arizona, and then you start your series with Boston at the end of July. So you have a team that's going to be playing mostly at home here in this stretch. They're only going to play about, from what I'm seeing here, they're only going to play 10 more games on the road this month. The rest of their games are at home. So tonight, I feel like, you got 2 pitchers that people really aren't that familiar with. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take the under 8.5 in this spot. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it shakes out. We move forward from there. All right, so we move on and let's go ahead and look at the Mets and the Diamondbacks. The Mets and the Diamondbacks in a pretty good spot. Diamondbacks trying to hold off the Dodgers now because they know what's coming. They know once the Dodgers get into their groove, they'll be there. And right now, they still have a grace period. They don't have to see the Dodgers until next month. And that's going to be a wrap on their series for the rest of the year, too. Because they got 5 games next month. And those might be the most important 5 games of the last decade for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Because I know the Diamondbacks do not want to finish the season and not be the champions of the NL West. They've been doing all the carrying of the division most of the year. So, the pressure is now on, in my opinion, when it comes to the Diamondbacks. So tonight is a very, very important game for them to stay ahead of the Dodgers because they don't want to risk it. Because once they get in their series with the Dodgers, we know what's going to happen. The Dodgers are going to wind up figuring out some things, and they'll probably win the majority of those 5 games, in my opinion. And that will probably be the difference in the Dodgers winning. But you want to keep the party going. So you're not just going to write off them that quickly. But now it's time to start, getting yourself a little bit more in gear, in my opinion. But tonight, what we do in this game is this. This is going to be our dog of the day. I know Carlos Carrasco is a guy that sometimes it's kind of hard to trust him. But I can trust him here. And I think that's what I'm going to do here tonight as well, too. I'm going to go ahead and take the Mets plus 120 as the Bet Us MLB a dog bet of the day. So we're going to see how it goes. We're going to see how it shakes out. But I do like the Mets today because the Mets got to put themselves in gear. They're 40-46 right now. They're well behind the Braves. And they're starting to fade a little bit here in the playoff picture as well, too. They got to stay afloat, or it's going to be a lot of people getting moved on trade deadline day. So let's go ahead and move forward from there. And let's talk about let's go ahead and take a quick commercial break. And when I get back, we're going to go ahead and jump into Talkin Tickets. So you guys stay tuned. And this is the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Cap.
Now you and your friends can compete in the sport of kings and win big with Stable Duel. Get the app, pick your horses, and get in on the thrill of horse racing with daily games competing against other players. Bring home the glory and the cash, and move up the annual leaderboard while you leave your competition in the dust. Get in the game with Stable Duel. Play, race, win.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners and I'll Have Another and Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
All right, so we have ourselves Talkin Tickets here, and pretty much we have the WNBA at first, and Talkin Tickets tonight. Tonight is the night. We have the over 166, and then we have the -6 with the Sun first half, and then we have a 3.5 Sun first quarter. Now they are playing the Storm tonight. The Storm are a 10-point dog tonight. I just feel like, usually I go the other way, but tonight I just feel like that it's going to be a very, very good game for the Sun. I feel like they're going to have a complete annihilation, at least here in the first quarter and the first half. So let's see how it goes in Connecticut tonight. So pretty much let's move forward and talk about the MLB PrimeTime PK6. Up first, we got the Rays, as I explained, plus 141.5 run line. Hopefully we can get this one home with them winning by 2 or more runs. Then we got the Yankees plus 110 money line tonight at the stadium. And then we have the over 9 with the Royals and the Guardians as well. And then we have the under 8.5 with the Mariners and the Astros. And then we have the Mets money line plus 120 as our dog of the day. And then we got the Pirates tonight plus 1.5, and they're going to be like a plus 115 or something of that nature. So with that, I want to thank you guys so much for tuning into the show today. You guys are the absolute best. Tomorrow, I'll be back with the man himself, the Don of Cape Cod, Mr. Jeff Dawson. We'll be talking some good sports and good stuff, probably talking about a lot of summer league, talking a lot of baseball, talking the AFC South as well, too. So all you Titans, all you Colts, all you Texans, and all you Jaguar fans, come on, pull on up. We're going to have a nice little discussion about your division tomorrow. So pretty much with that, once again, thank you guys very much for tuning in. And as I always say, bet with your head, not with your heart. The movement is moving, and this is the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper, and I am gone.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.